Imagine the fear gripping a quiet community as a shadowy figure lurks in the darkness, waiting to strike. It was the late 70s in Sacramento, California, a time remembered not just for its political and cultural shifts, but for the emergence of a sinister presence that would come to be known as the East Area Rapist. This enigmatic figure sowed terror across the region, his initial attacks characterized by a chilling precision. Homes where peace once prevailed were now scenes of unimaginable fear. The community, once vibrant and secure, found itself ensnared in a web of paranoia and mistrust. As night fell, residents double-checked their locks and whispered about the monster who roamed their streets after dark. The pattern was disturbingly consistent. The assailant struck under the veil of night, exploiting the vulnerability of those caught unaware in their own homes. This was just the beginning of a saga that would haunt Sacramento for decades. As science advances, so does our ability to catch those who believe they've eluded justice. In the twilight of the 70s, a shadow loomed large over Sacramento, a phantom known later as the East Area Rapist. But it wasn't until the advent of sophisticated DNA technology that a startling connection was unveiled. This elusive figure was not only the East Area Rapist, but also the infamous original Night Stalker. A revelation that sent shockwaves through the corridors of criminal justice. The process began with the meticulous collection of DNA samples from the crime scenes. Imagine detectives, clad in their lab coats, combing through the remnants of chaos left behind at each scene. Each sample, a strand of hair, a drop of blood, a forgotten fingerprint, was a silent witness to the horrors endured by the victims. These samples were then subjected to DNA profiling, a technique that extracts genetic information from cells. This information creates a unique genetic fingerprint, which can be compared against DNA databases or other samples. In this case, it was the critical piece of the puzzle that linked the crimes of the East Area Rapist to those of the original Night Stalker, spanning from Sacramento to Southern California. The revelation was nothing short of revolutionary. For the first time, investigators had concrete evidence that they were dealing with a single perpetrator across multiple jurisdictions. This discovery not only redefined the scope of the investigation, but also reinvigorated the efforts to bring this predator to justice. Yet, the path was not straightforward. The DNA evidence had to be irrefutable. It underwent rigorous testing and retesting, each phase peeling back layers of the criminal's identity. Yet, his name remained just beyond reach. This breakthrough was a game-changer, but the road to justice was still long and winding. Sometimes, the smallest clue can break a case wide open. In the sprawling inquiry into the East Area Rapist, it was not just the grand gestures of violence that held the keys to unlocking his identity, but rather, the minute, seemingly insignificant details scattered across the crime scenes. Imagine a scenario where amidst the chaos of a ransacked home, a single screwdriver lies forgotten. Not just any screwdriver, but one with a peculiar brown paint. This wasn't an item left behind by accident. It was a tool used by the perpetrator, and its unique coloration eventually connected him to other break-ins where similar items were found. Then there were the paint chips, tiny flecks of blue, almost invisible to the untrained eye, yet they clung stubbornly to the windowsills and door frames of multiple homes terrorized by the same individual. Analysts later matched these chips to a specific type of paint, one that was used in a vehicle known to be driven by the suspect. Each piece of evidence, no matter how small, was meticulously cataloged and analyzed. These weren't just random items, they were silent witnesses to the crimes. As more of these breadcrumbs were followed, a clearer image of the suspect began to emerge from the shadows. Through the diligent work of investigators, each clue added a piece to the puzzle, slowly bringing the hidden picture to light. Understanding the victim is as crucial as understanding the perpetrator. In the labyrinthine investigation of the East Area Rapist, Paul Holes emphasizes an often overlooked aspect: the lives and backgrounds of the victims. By creating detailed profiles of those terrorized, Holes could discern patterns and potential connections that might otherwise have been missed. For instance, examining where victims worked or their daily routines offered insights into how the perpetrator selected his targets. Yet, as we delve deeper into the victimology, it becomes apparent how misdirection played a significant role in this case. Early theories speculated wildly about the criminal's background. Some believed he must have military training due to his stealth and efficiency, while others claimed he had to be in real estate, citing how he seemed intimately familiar with the neighborhoods he terrorized. However, Holmes approached these theories with a critical eye. Through meticulous analysis, he demonstrated that there was little concrete evidence to support these claims. Instead, these professions were common in the areas targeted, leading to unwarranted assumptions. By cutting through these layers of speculation, Holmes redirected the focus back to tangible evidence and reliable victim testimonies, steering the investigation towards more plausible theories. This rigorous scrutiny of victimology not only honed the investigation's focus, but also cleared the fog of myths surrounding the perpetrator's identity and background. Cutting through the rumors was essential to see the reality of these heinous crimes. Fear escalated as the predator's confidence grew. As the dark days rolled on in Sacramento, the East Area Rapist's methods began to evolve, signaling a disturbing progression in his criminal behavior. Initially targeting single women in their homes, this faceless terror soon expanded his hunting ground, his audacity growing with each successful intrusion. The shift was stark and horrifying. No longer were single women the sole targets. Now couples lay within his sights. This escalation wasn't just about broadening his victim pool, it was a twisted challenge to his own cunning. Breaking into a home where two people slept showed a chilling confidence and a calculated risk that he seemed to relish. His approach was methodical and terrifyingly thorough. Before an attack, he would often conduct extensive reconnaissance on his prospective victims. Neighbors reported strange occurrences, unfamiliar footprints in their gardens, unusual noises during the night, and phone lines mysteriously cut. It was as if he was testing the waters, gauging the response times of the community and police, learning the routines of his victims. Once inside, his control over the scene was absolute. He would often separate the man from the woman, binding them tightly with shoelaces or cords. The psychological torment he inflicted was immense. For the men, it was the helplessness of being immobilized, forced to listen, knowing they were powerless to protect their loved ones. For the women, the terror was unimaginable, compounded by the presence of a loved one who could do nothing but listen. Each crime scene he left behind was a macabre tableau, meticulously arranged to instill maximum fear and confusion in those who would later encounter it. The message was clear: no one was safe, and his control was total. The pattern was chilling, each attack more brazen than the last. As the community reeled in fear, the East Area Rapist moved through the shadows, always one horrifying step ahead. Every voice matters in solving a case, especially those least expected. In the shadows of the East Area Rapist's horrifying spree, a less-heard group of survivors were the men, whose stories often slipped through the cracks of major narratives. These men, typically seen only as peripheral victims, provided testimonies that were invaluable in piecing together the methodical madness of a predator. As investigators delved deeper, it became clear that the male survivors held keys to understanding the psychological warfare this criminal waged not just against his primary victims, but against entire households. Their accounts of terror, control, and the intruder's chilling communications provided a fuller picture of his operations. Each story added layers to the profile, helping to refine the search parameters and adjust the focus of the investigation. These testimonies were not just supplemental, they were central to evolving the investigative strategies. By acknowledging and integrating these experiences, the case's narrative was significantly enriched. These voices brought new dimensions to the investigation, challenging previous assumptions. Could two notorious criminals actually be one? Today, we dive into the unsettling parallels and distinct divergences between the East Area Rapist and the Visalia Ransacker. Both left behind a trail of fear and confusion in their wake, but were they the same person operating under different guises? The East Area Rapist, known for his brutal home invasions in Sacramento, and the Visalia Ransacker, infamous for his earlier string of burglaries and the murder in Visalia, share chillingly similar methods. Both exhibited a penchant for souvenirs from their crime scenes and escalated from burglary to more violent crimes. However, Paul Holes provides a compelling analysis. He points out critical differences in their physical descriptions and some aspects of their modus operandi. The ransacker's attacks, for instance, often involved ransacking and petty theft, while the East Area Rapist displayed more calculated and violent aggression towards his victims. The debate continues with each piece of evidence scrutinized for a definitive answer. The shadow of the East Area Rapist looms large, even in capture. The resolution of this notorious case breathed a sigh of relief into the hearts of Sacramento residents and beyond, yet the ripples it created are far-reaching. Law enforcement agencies have revisited their approach to cold cases, now armed with the potent combination of DNA technology and renewed public interest. This case has become a beacon, illuminating the path to solving other long-forgotten mysteries. Simultaneously, the academic world has turned its keen eyes towards the psychological and sociological impacts of such crimes. Universities and think tanks delve into studies that explore not only the mind of the criminal, but also the long-term effects on the communities and survivors. These studies aim to craft more resilient societal structures and more effective prevention strategies. This case, rich in lessons and warnings, serves as a grim reminder of the lurking depths of human capability. Though the case is closed, the stories and lessons remain, continuing to intrigue and educate us. Today, we've delved deep into the darkness to bring light to the shadows. In our exploration of the East Area Rapist, we've navigated through a labyrinth of clues, from the microscopic DNA fragments that linked two notorious criminals to the overlooked evidence that painted a broader, more complex picture of the perpetrator. Paul Holz's meticulous approach highlighted not just the importance of physical evidence, but the significance of understanding the victims' lives and the connections that might lead to a suspect. We've seen how the evolution of forensic technology and investigative techniques can peel back the layers of even the most baffling cases. We've also recognized the importance of revisiting the narratives of those less considered by initial investigations, and how these voices can provide crucial insights. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that the enigma of the East Area Rapist is a stark reminder of the persistence needed in the pursuit of justice. Keep questioning, keep curious. Join us next time on Crime Stories Now.